The story begins with a man running from someone. He was given the wrong information by his informant about the client he was there to kill. According to the info, the client should have been alone, but he was not. He had lost 4 of his men in an instant, and now he was running for his own life. He got shot in the leg while he was running. The guy says to him how the Japanese Yakuza was done for at this point, revealing that the guy was a Yakuza. The guy slammed his face on the floor a few times. Then he ordered his minions to get the other guy that they had apprehended. The Yakuza guy was thinking he was done for. There was no way he could run away with his leg. Just then, he saw that the guy they were talking about was just a kid. He didn't know who it was. The gang leader figured he was just a poor guy who raided their place for some food. He threatened to kill him if he didn't find him useful. Just then, the guy noticed his shoelaces were missing. He immediately ordered his minion to get rid of him, but the kid slipped through his grab and attacked him from the guy's blind spot. He tried to block the attack, but he changed his trajectory mid-air and attacked his foot. Before anyone could react, he got behind the guy and locked him in a chokehold. The kid took his gun and started shooting at them. The mafia boss tried to fire back, but he hit his own man instead. The Yakuza guy couldn't believe what he was witnessing. A kid was going up against the mafia. The kid ran out of bullets, so he threw the gun to distract him. He got behind him without the guy noticing him. He punched him in the thighs and then choked him with his shoelaces. The guy realized that it wasn't just a coincidence. This kid was here on a mission to get rid of them. He was a professional killer. After killing him, he gave a hand to the Yakuza guy and assured him that he was on his side. His boss was the one who had sent him. The Yakuza guy still couldn't believe what he had seen that day. It has been 12 years since then. We see a van creeping around a school. The protagonist was now an adult. The Yakuza guy was also there. He woke him up and informed him about this next mission. It was a 1-year contract that involved this high school. The guy warned him not to take the school lightly. There were many delinquents in the school who dreamed of becoming gangsters. The situation was so out of control that even the police couldn't handle it anymore. The Yakuza guy throws the rapper on the road, but the assassin guy wants him not to do that. The guy suggested he should loosen up a little bit and warned him not to get in fights. He puts on his cleaner uniform and assures him to leave everything to him. His name was now Bonju Tiger, and he was from Yomad Cleaning. When he gets inside the school, he sees some delinquents smoking cigarettes and notices the mess they have made. He aggressively approaches them, making them keep their guards up. They were ready to fight him, but he just picks up the cigarette butts. The girls in the hallway thought he was so cool, which made the delinquent even more mad. He asked him who he was. He introduced him in a loud voice, saying he was stationed there as the new janitor to clean the filth of the school. This startled everyone around. The delinquents thought he was messing with them. Tiger suddenly took out something from his pocket, scaring the guy, but it was only for the cigarette butts. While Tiger was leaving after messing with them, the guy attacked him from behind. Tiger thinks to himself that he couldn't kill him as he was in a school. He remembered how he was trained to kill ever since he was a kid, but he couldn't kill now because it was prohibited by his boss. He bowed and dodged the punch, which startled the guy. His friends made fun of him for not landing the blow, which made him even more aggressive. But even though he tried his best, he couldn't even land a single hit on the tiger. At this point, even the other students realized that this new janitor was bad news. The student's cigarette dropped out of his pocket. Tiger picked it up and asked him if it was trash so that he could throw that away. The other students were freaking out when Kashima, the leader, came forward to confront him. He grabbed him by the collar. Seeing him closing in all of a sudden, Tiger realized that he was an experienced martial artist. While Kashima was bluffing and boasting about himself, Tiger asked him if he was gonna hit him or not, as that was the reason he let him grab him by the collar in the first place. This pissed off Kashima big time. We see a teacher who heard a few girls talking about the new janitor and Kashima getting into a fight. She thinks to himself how Kashima's group's delinquent actions had gone too far. They even bully the adults. That's why all the teachers pretend not to see anything. Just then, she hears the commotion in the hallway. She figured that Kashima must be bullying someone and tried to stop him. But when she arrived there, what she saw shocked her. Kashima's group of delinquents were on the ground. Tiger informed her that he didn't use violence, so he should be fine. But much to his surprise, the teacher told him that he was fired, but luckily she was just joking. She showed him his room and all the equipment he needed. Tiger needed an insider informant who could keep him up to date with what was going on in the school, and he found the teacher as his candidate. He figured he needed to befriend her in order to get info. He introduced himself to her. She introduces herself as Hoshimarami. Tiger calls her by her first name right off the bat. He expressed his gratitude to her, which made her fluster a little. She asked him what happened with Kishima, to which he simply replies that he was just picking up the trash and it turned out that way. He showed her the cigarettes and asked her if it was allowed in this school. She apologized to him and suggested he didn't stand out too much. He may have defeated Kishima's group, but that school was filled with even more dangerous kids. After saying that, she left for her class. Tiger says to himself how hard it was to get along. In the second year class B, Akikawa Yusei was making fun of Kishima, who was also a second year, for losing to a rookie janitor. He told him how the rumor had spread all over the school by now. He further goes on to mock him on how he lost even though he was the strongest of the second years. While Yusei was talking loudly, Hirose Shoko, a girl in their class, pointed out how stupid they were. Yusei told her not to meddle in their matter, but then the other girls started admiring how cool and handsome the new janitor was. Yusei asks Kishima why wasn't he saying anything. He informed him that the new janitor was dangerous and that they couldn't defeat him head-on if they fought. Just then, the senior, Gouda Alex, the executive of Ryokaku, comes there and slams his face onto the table for saying stuff like that. Kishima informed him that he was strong, so Alex suggested he attack his weak spot, because they couldn't just leave him be. When the teacher army was alone, some delinquents came up to her with weapons. Tiger was learning about the school rules when he heard a knock on his door. When he goes outside, he finds a smartphone, in which he sees the teacher being tied up. She was asking for help. He asked her where she was being held, but before she could tell him, the delinquents shut her up. They told him to find her in time or something bad might happen to her. Tiger found himself in quite a problematic situation. Alex's right-hand man came there and was about to make a move on her, but Kishima stopped him, saying they couldn't afford to hurt the hostage because he wanted to beat him fair. As they were arguing with each other, Tiger found them and came storming through the door. Mishida grabs the teacher and threatens to do something terrible to her if he steps forward. But much to everyone's surprise, his response was that he didn't care about all that. He was just here to confirm if he should consider the phone trash that he found on the hallway floor. Everyone was dumbfounded for a second, but then Mishida ordered the others to attack him and make him realize what kind of situation he was in. The three of them attacked him, but he made them punch each other. They knock each other down. The guy from earlier found his chance and attacked his wide open back, but Tiger casually dodged his attack. The guy accidentally punches Mishida instead. Mishida threatened to harm the hostage, but Tiger told him he didn't do anything. Yusei attacked his leg, which made him trip. He was going to kick Tiger like soccer, but he accidentally hits Mishida in the face. Mishida again threatened to harm the hostage if he didn't let them hit him. Kishima takes the opportunity and attacks him. His throw was really impressive, but it was nothing that Tiger couldn't dodge, but he lets him hit him anyway. Mishida was happy to have finally landed a hit on him, but Tiger fell on top of him. Mishida accused him, saying he was doing that on purpose. Tiger figured there was no reason to keep this up, because he had already secured the hostage. Now all he needed to do was to escape with her. But before that, he asked them if what they were doing wasn't illegal. Kidnapping, assault, violence, and attempted I-word. These were all serious crimes, but Mishida replies that he was doing all this in self-defense, as it was he who started all this. By that reasoning, Tiger also hits him for real this time. In just one punch, he was on the ground. He also stated that it was in self-defense. The others ran away, seeing Mishida get beat up in one punch. The teacher found him unconscious, but he didn't tell him about the incident because he didn't want rumors of him getting beaten by a janitor to spread. After he defeated Alex's right-hand man, Alex was also interested in him and wondered if he was capable. Now we see a little backstory of the teacher army. When she was in middle school, something had started unexpectedly. The damage to her belongings, bad-mouthing, ridicule, and public humiliation. She didn't know the reason. She was just struck by the consequences. She was bullied horribly. No one helped her. Even the teachers turned a blind eye. She didn't have anyone to talk to. There were thoughts of doing unthinkable in her mind. The thought of ending her own life crossed her mind, but she somehow pulled through that. She decided to become a teacher who would help students who were being bullied. She would help the students who need help, but the reality was 100 times worse than she had imagined. Even though she knew that students were being bullied, she couldn't do anything about it. Those students were trash and even bullied teachers. Every day she felt powerless until that guy showed up. Teacher Omi asked Tiger on a date. Although it was a drag for him, this was what he wanted, to get closer to her. After he was ready, he asked the Yakuza guy to comment on his drip. The Yakuza guy pointed out how he had the fashion taste of a middle schooler and how it sucked. He enlightens him with the mature man's drip, But Tiger wasn't interested. He goes out looking like that, which makes the Yakuza guy wonder if he would be okay. Tiger meets Omi, and she is dressed nicely. She notices his middle schooler drip but doesn't point it out. She asks him why he didn't wear his necklace instead, to which he replies that it could be used to strangle one to death. She asked him if he could handle alcohol and took him to her favorite place. She is about to grill the meat when Tiger stops him and asked her to let her do the honors. He started grilling the meat magnificently. He was focusing on even the smallest of the details, and the result was worth the effort. After a couple of drinks, Ami was fully wasted while Tiger was still sober. She goes straight to the point and asked him if he has a girlfriend. When Tiger told her he did not, she freaked out, saying he would be popular. When Tiger asked her if she had a boyfriend, she told him how she couldn't date anyone until she accomplished something as a teacher. Tiger figured it was his chance to ask her about the school's internal affairs. When he asked her about it, she told him that there wasn't any particular reason. It was just that some bullies were hurting other students. The teachers couldn't do anything, and nothing was going as she had planned at all. She told him how she respected and admired his strength. He was able to take them down even without hurting them. When she asked him how he learned to do that, he replied that it was required in his lost job, which made her wonder what kind of job he did in the past. She sits near him and asks him for a favor. She asked him to teach her how to suppress violence. Tiger figured it was a fair exchange. She could let him on the internal school affairs, which would be essential for his mission. He agrees to teach her, and they exchange contacts. It was his second contact, the first one being Yamadira Tatsuo, the Yakuza guy. She asked him if he was in his family, to which he replied that he was kind of his big brother. While they were leaving, Tiger needed to check something. He grabbed her suddenly, which made her fluster. He was checking for muscle density and found she had an athletic boy. She revealed that she'd been hitting the gym because she was scared of getting fat. As they were leaving, Ami saw one of the students from her class going somewhere with an old man. Her name was Suma. Tiger assured her that she must be eating out with her family, but she was suspicious of him and decided to follow them. Ami was hiding from them while following them. Tiger suggests she should just work normally. That way they would look way less suspicious than whatever she was doing. He also told her not to work right behind them. While they were following them, the old guy started getting closer to her, which made Omi think if he was her sugar daddy. Tiger didn't know what she was talking about and asked if it was a part-time job. Omi didn't want to believe Suma was one of those girls because her grades were impressive and she never gave off that kind of energy. Just then, they turned to another valley. When she follows them, she finds the old man forcing himself on her. Suma told him how she had just agreed to have dinner with him. When he wasn't stopping, Ami intervened and stopped him. Suma was surprised to see her teacher there and freed herself from the old creep's grab. The old man said that he was her instructor and that it had nothing to do with them. Just then, a few other students from the school came there. They were the ones running this business. They were running a matching service for wealthy adult men and young girls. When the other students saw the teacher, she started freaking out. But a guy named Sanjo came forward and explained to her what they were doing. The teacher was not thrilled hearing that, but before she could say anything, he started beating the old man and took him with him. Tiger also stops Ami because there is no confirmation of what they are doing, so they can't do anything about it. The next day at school, they explained the situation to the girl named Anna, who was the ringleader. The other girl threatened Suma to keep her mouth shut and not to meet with the teacher Ami. We see another guy witnessing all this quietly from behind. During lunch, when Tiger was about to clean the girls' bathroom, he heard someone screaming. The girls from yesterday were threatening Suma to earn more money, and that it was her fault they got caught that day. Suma was the one who started this business, so she couldn't back down now. They reveal how her job was to get the customer, and the rest would be up to them. Things like blackmailing the wealthy for trying to harass a minor. Then she goes on to pour water on her so that she gets cold and gets home early, so that the teacher couldn't talk to her. Tiger starts playing the video that he recorded of them confessing their crimes, and threatened to submit it to the school. Arika screamed at him and called him a pervert for casually entering the girls' bathroom, to which he replies that he was there as a professional. Arika and others leave immediately thinking that guy was bad news. But before going, Arika warned her not to squeal because the Yakuza were backing Anna. This surprised Tiger because he thought the Yakuza weren't in this country anymore. At the Yamada Cleaner office, the former boss of Yamada Cleaners, President Yamada, meets with someone who tells him about the girl having Yakuza backing her up. The president reassured the guy, saying that it was just for her protection. Since she was a celebrity, there was a danger of being doxxed. The guy left after asking him about the situation. At the school, Tiger was still wondering if he should draw out the Yakuzas. But before that, He had something else to take care of. Suma was still there, and she was wearing his jacket. She thanked him for saving her. He assured her to stay there as long as she wanted. He wasn't going to let anyone come in. She asked him why he wasn't scolding her even though he saw her with the old guy, to which he replied that he didn't know about her situation, and he didn't know much about the compensation dating as well. She started laughing, pointing out how strange he was. She knew that it was an indecent way of earning money, but she needed money. It was true that she was looting for money, but she didn't know it was this kind of trap scheme. Tiger told her that she could talk to him if she wanted to, because safety and hygiene are related. She told him how she wanted to go to a beauty school after she graduated, but her parents opposed it because the beauty school was expensive. They were struggling to pay for even the high school. Tiger admires her determination, but suggests she go about earning money a better way. She thanked him for believing in her, but at this point, even if she tried to quit the job, no one knows what would happen. Tiger asked her in detail about the compensation dating scene. Tiger explained everything to teacher Amy. They needed to do something about Erica's organization, otherwise there would be another victim like Suma. But Erica wasn't the one running the business. She could be easily replaced. If they wanted to shut down the organization, they'd have to crush the boss. They were using a deep web website for the matching. We see the Yakuza guy, Tatsuo, using the same website to hang out with the girls. After a few moments, we see Tatsuo taking a bath. He was in a hotel with one of the girls. As he was leaving, he paid for her service. But when he opened the door, he was confronted by the organization's men. They showed him the image of him with her and blackmailed him. Tatsuo starts acting like he is panicking. They take him back to the room. Meanwhile, we see Tiger tailing them from the shadows. They plan to infiltrate the organization. As he entered the hotel, the receptionist stopped him. Tiger told him that he was there to clean, but he didn't recognize the dress Tiger was wearing and confronted him about it. Having left no other choice, Tiger knocks him down and takes his dress. He goes door to door to find the room they were in. Just then, he sees Suma there and immediately hides from her. He wonders what was she doing there after promising him to leave this kind of word behind. As he was sneaking up on her, someone came from behind. Tiger felt a strong chill down his spine. Tiger could immediately tell this guy was crazy strong. This was the same guy who had met with President Yamada before. On the other hand, they were blackmailing Tatsuo to pay or they would go public with this. Even the ringleader, Anna, was also there. As they were ganging up on him to force him to pay, Suma entered the room, shocking everyone. Erica scolded her for disrupting the work when she was supposed to be home. Suma informed her that she wasn't here looking for work. She was here so that she could directly tell them that she was quitting. Erica slaps him, saying she was an accomplice in the work. She kicked him and decided to teach her a lesson so that she wouldn't do anything stupid like this ever again. The boss guy told Tatsuo not to pay attention to them, but Tatsuo couldn't just ignore this. His boss had forbidden him from fighting, but it was too much even for a normal civilian. Tatsuo grabbed the guy who was holding her and slammed him on the ground. This makes the guy even more mad because he didn't even pay, and now he is beating his subordinates. But he was still ready to forgive him as long as he paid them. But Tatsuo made fun of him by giving him a mere coin. This was the last straw for him, and the guy finally snapped. On the other hand, the mysterious guy thinks he is from the Ryokyo group, the group that Alex was part of. Tiger didn't understand what he was talking about. The mysterious guy thinks he is playing dumb and tells him how he could detect someone strong, and he could tell that Tiger was strong. The guy was ready to get rid of him because that was his mission. Now both parties were ready to fight. The guy was a little surprised that Tiger didn't even stiffen his shoulder even after seeing the knife. He looked damn calm, but no matter how strong he was, if he got cut, he would also freeze. The guy attacks Tiger with his knife, but Tiger effortlessly blocks his attack. But the guy kept on attacking him again and again. Tiger was blocking all of his attacks. The guy stops for a minute to think about who was this kid and why he was so strong. Tiger calls him out for not attacking and asks him if it is his turn to attack. He was planning to attack his dominant hand to get rid of the knife first. But even though the distance between them was less and Tiger was also fast, the guy received his attack on the back of his palm. He couldn't dodge the attack, but he minimized its damage. Tiger realized that he was right about this guy. He was crazy strong. Suddenly, the guy starts running from him and hides behind a wall. When Tiger follows him to the corner, he doesn't find him behind the wall. Just then, the guy attacked him from behind. But even though Tiger was caught off guard, he still managed to dodge his attack and managed to land a hit on him. He even made him drop his knife. The guy apologized to him for mistaking him for a martial artist, when in reality, he was using military techniques. He ponders over his options. He couldn't step in nor he could get back his knife. He had no choice but to take this fight seriously now. On to the second fight. Tatsuo and the bald guy were fighting each other with bottles. One of the goons attacks him from behind, but Tatsuo dodges the attack and slams his face onto the floor. Then they accuse each other of ruining the other person's clothes. They both take their shirts off and we see that they both were jacked. The bald guy was using a weapon. Tatsu made fun of him for slowing his movements down by using a weapon, but much to his surprise, the guy wasn't going to use it randomly. He knew what he was doing. Tatsu didn't expect him to use some wild technique and was caught off guard. The bald guy saw the dragon tattoo on his back and figured he was a Yakuza member. He attacks him again while saying that he was lucky to torment a Yakuza member. He was getting bored gradually tormenting the weak guys, but the image of a Yakuza crying and begging for his life, just imagining it gave him chills. After he was done beating Tatsuo, Tatsuo rates his torture as third rate. This startled the bald guy, and he attacked him in anger. But it did not affect Tatsuo. He grabbed the rod, picked the bald guy up the rod, and threw him outside through the window. Tiger and the mysterious guy had to stop their fight because of the distraction. Tatsuo asks Tiger about the guy with glasses, but he doesn't know him. The guy recognizes the bald guy from the Ryukyuo group, and realized Tiger wasn't one of them. Tiger notices that his hostility has disappeared. The guy apologizes to him, clears up the misunderstanding, and tells him that he was there for the baldy.
Tatsuo asked Tiaga what had happened to his clothes. Tiaga, in turn, asked Tatsuo the same question. Tiaga then explained that he had borrowed them because it was necessary for an infiltration. After their conversation, Tiaga looked towards a mysterious man. The man adjusted his glasses and told them that the circumstances had changed, and he wanted to speak with Sanzo. However, Tatsuo walked towards Sanzo and stated that the mysterious man could do whatever he wanted after Tatsuo finished his business first. The mysterious man agreed, and suddenly, Tatsuo ran and kicked Sanzo in the face. Blood gushed from Sanzo's mouth as the impact was critical. Tatsuo then sat on Sanzo and repeatedly punched him in the face until he became unconscious. Tatsuo taught him the brutal lesson of how the Yakuza employed machine-like violence. Afterward, Tatsuo gave Sanzo two choices, the fingers of his right hand or the toes on his right foot. Upon hearing this, Sanzo understood the Yakuza's method of settling unfinished business. After some time, Tatsuo gathered all the men in the room and told them that their compensated dating business was a priority initiative. Tatsuo then asked where the Ryukyuo company's base was. Sanzo screamed that he couldn't reveal any more information because the man at the top would kill him if he did. But Tatsuo threatened him with the loss of his fingers, so Sanzo reluctantly agreed to talk. He revealed that the base was located outside of town, on a farm that appeared ordinary from the outside. He insisted they were not doing anything wrong there. Tatsuo then asked Tiaga how they should handle the situation. Tiaga replied that their objective was to crush the compensated dating business. Tatsuo asked whether they should focus solely on destroying the business, regardless of solving the larger problem. However, the mysterious man interrupted and asked if their discussion was over because he needed to take over the place. Tatsuo asked who he was, to which the man smirked and said that, at that moment, he was not their enemy. Tatsuo then remarked that the enemy of his enemy might be his ally. The man agreed and placed a sticker on Tatsuo's shoulder, instructing him to keep it somewhere clearly visible. He then gave similar stickers to Soma and Tiaga, warning them not to make the mistake of leaving through the back door but to exit through the front. The three of them then took their leave, with Tatsuo telling the mysterious man to take care of the cleanup. Suddenly, one of the men who had been kneeling asked why the man was letting them go. The man replied with a devilish smile that they were all foolish because they didn't realize there was no way he could have entered without permission. When the three of them stepped outside, they saw a large group of gang members waiting. However, because they had the stickers given by the mysterious man, the gang members did not harm them. The stickers served as a passage permit. Later, in a hotel room, all three men were unconscious, and Erica had been beaten up by the mysterious man. The man told her that she didn't understand that the sex industry belonged to cats and chips. Erica denied knowing anything about it. The man then introduced himself as Natsum Ren, an executive member of the non-Yakuza organization, Cats and Chips. Natsum asked her if she was the leader, but Erika denied it, claiming that Anna was the leader and that everything was done under her orders. Erika begged him to spare her. Natsum suddenly punched her in the face, causing her to fall to the ground. He then grabbed her by the hair and accused her of lying, insisting that she was the leader. Erika cried and screamed that she wasn't the leader, but Natsum said it didn't matter who the leader was. He had decided from the beginning that Erika was the leader. Erika asked why he had made that decision, and he replied that it was because Anna was beautiful and Erika was ugly. He then punched her in the face again, causing blood to pour from her nose. He then looked toward Anna and told her that she would be doing a different job, becoming their precious merchandise, and that they had to be careful not to break her. The next day, it was revealed that the compensated dating dispute involving Soma Yuki-san had been safely resolved. The police had raided the karaoke shop that was being used as a base, and several people were arrested. While the students were not implicated, two of those involved in the incident, Kusamoto Erika and Shiraishi Anna, had gone missing. There was an active missing persons investigation, so the school left it to the police. However, Ami was concerned for their safety, and Soma, who had reformed, seemed to have made some friends. In the classroom, Ami noticed that Soma was chatting with her friends. One of the girls showed a group of handsome guys live show tickets to Shoko and Soma. Soma was unfamiliar with the Spade group. Another girl explained that they were the hottest boy idol group. She then pointed to an empty seat and mentioned that one of the members, Cheyenne, was in their class, but he hardly ever came to school. She also showed his photo on her mobile phone. Shoko mentioned that when Cheyenne did come to school, he had a scary aura that made him hard to approach. They then talked about their favorite idols, with one girl commenting that tattoos looked cool on idols. Soma began to think and, blushing, picked up a pen and paper to draw Tatsua's back. She showed it to her friends and said she thought something flashy like that dragon tattoo was good too. However, Shoko pointed out that it was a Yakuza tattoo which was way beyond flashy. Soma and the other girls remarked that Tatsuya looked old, but Soma blushed and said that older men weren't bad either. Meanwhile, Akikawa, who was sitting behind the girls, looked toward Shoko and commented that it was strange how she had been making such a big deal about grown-ups lately. His friend teased him, saying that if he was bothered by it, he should just go for it. The friend also suggested that if Akikawa left an opening like that, someone else would snatch her up, like the janitor. Hearing this, Akikawa became frustrated and looked angry. His friend then told him to calm down and introduced himself as the Love Master Tanabe, offering to give Akikawa some advice. Kashima, another friend, told Tanabe that he shouldn't call himself that since he didn't have a girlfriend. But Tanabe retorted that he had a girlfriend once when he was in elementary school. Hearing this, the two friends were surprised and looked at him weirdly. Tanabe then explained that the trick to romance was very simple. Akikawa needed to have more contact with Shoko, get together, and talk with her a lot. Romance was all about that, and it was important to start a conversation. Suddenly, the class started, and everyone returned to their seats. During the lunch break, we see Soma and Shoko having lunch together at one table. They were talking to each other when Akikawa appeared and suggested to Shoko that they should hang out after school since it had been a while. However, Shoko gave him a strange look and replied that it wasn't going to happen because she had practice, and the inter-high competition was coming up soon. This response hurt Akikawa, and he asked her again if they could hang out after her club activities. But suddenly, Shoko asked him why he had quit the soccer team. Akikawa replied that it had nothing to do with anything, and he also told her to stop hanging out with those delinquents since they were childhood friends, as people were starting to look at her weirdly. But Akikawa retorted that he could hang out with whoever he wanted. The conversation between the two worsened, and Shoko stood up and told him that he could do whatever he wanted, then left him alone. Akikawa was so angry that he kicked a chair. After school, we see Shoko running on a racetrack, and her trainer praised her for achieving a great time. She then decided to go for one more round. Akikawa thought that if he waited in front of the classroom, he could meet up with her after practice. As he walked near an alley, he suddenly heard some noise. He looked into the alley and saw Tiaga grabbing Ami's hand. At first, Akikawa thought they were having a romantic moment, but he then realized that Tiaga was performing a unicycle stunt. Ami noticed that Akikawa had seen them and asked him what he was doing there. Akikawa asked them what it looked like, as he wasn't sure. Tiaga explained that it was called core training and invited Akikawa to join, but he refused. Tiaga suggested that with Akikawa's strong kicks and physical capabilities, he could probably master it. Akikawa asked why Tiaga, who had attacked him, was now being so friendly. Tiaga replied that there was nothing to be lost by getting along well, and he had learned that from his teacher. Tiaga explained that he generally tried not to rub people the wrong way. Battles only happened when there was no other way to reach an understanding, and at the moment neither of them wanted to fight. Tiaga then asked what Akikawa was doing there. Akikawa replied that he had nothing to do there and was about to leave the area. Afterward, he began to think about his kick. In the past, during a match, something bad had happened, and he didn't want to remember that incident. He thought that doing whatever he wanted with a bunch of idiots was more comfortable. Suddenly, his phone rang, and it was a call from Kashima. Akikawa picked up the call, and Kashima told him that there was going to be a party that weekend, and he was expected to attend. Akikawa agreed. Kashima then mentioned that Akikawa was on good terms with a pretty good-looking second-year girl and told him to bring Shoko to the party because he thought it was time to have a new girl as a guest. All the remaining girls there had already been broken. In the next scene, we see a soccer match where Akikawa is playing with his team. He suddenly grabs his teammate by the collar and asks him why he didn't send the pass to him. The teammate responds that Akikawa never even comes to practice, so they decided not to pass to him. Akikawa tells him that they will never improve with the way the current coach trains them. The only reason their team made it that far was because he scored points. However, his teammates aren't listening and leave him alone. This was the reason Akikawa quit soccer. He thinks that hanging out with guys he can relax with is much more comfortable. After quitting soccer, he met Guda. 1 year before, Akikawa was with Tanabe and Kashima. They were playing rock, paper, scissors for drinks, but Akikawa lost. Suddenly, Guda appeared and asked them who the strongest first-year students were. He then put his hand on Akikawa and Kashima and told them to hang out with him because he loves strong guys. After that, the three of them started chilling with Guda, going to bowling alleys and karaoke spots. They also played basketball together, with Akikawa passing the ball to Guda, and they won. They thought that Guda was the kind of guy who always went all out when playing. After the game, Guda gave Akikawa a thumbs up and said he had great reflexes and that it was a nice pass. Akikawa hadn't realized before that there were things way more fun than the football club. From that day on, they started hanging out with Guda every day. One day, however, Guda was sitting on a bench and mentioned that he felt low on energy. He then told them to follow him, leading them to a warehouse. Guda thought it was time to show them something. When he opened the warehouse door, what they saw inside shocked all three of them. There were a bunch of drunk thugs and girls having a good time with drugs and alcohol present. Guda told them that it was a bit too soon, but eventually they could also take those drugs and join in. This Guda was different from the one they knew before. Akikawa didn't want to see this side of Guda, who was just getting drunk and doing drugs. In the present, Akikawa reflects on how he never thought Shoko would get caught up in such a situation. Later that night, while in his room, Akikawa calls Tanabe and Kashima. He tells them everything, explaining that Guda needs a girl and that girl is Shoko. Kashima asks when Shoko caught Guda's eye. Akikawa replies that he doesn't know. Tanabe then says it looks like it's his job to find a girl who looks like Shoko. He promises to pick up another girl to bring instead and assures them that he will definitely get somebody in time. The next day at school, we see Soma opening the door to the janitor's room and meeting Tiaga. She tells him that Yamadera isn't there today. Tiaga confirms that he didn't come today and asks Soma if she needs advice or something. Soma replies that Shoko needs some advice and introduces her to Tiaga. Tiaga promptly says that he's just a cleaner, not an advisor. Shoko tells him that she heard from Soma that he resolved the incident with the delinquents. Tiaga asks her if she needs advice regarding delinquents. Shoko answers yes and explains that Akikawa and his friends in their class have been acting suspiciously. She mentions that they've been friends since they were little, but Akikawa has been distant for a while, and suddenly he invited her to hang out. She shows Tiaga a chat with Tanabe and says that he's been going around hitting on every girl he can find. Shoko then asks Tiaga if he knows Guda. Tiaga replies that he doesn't know who he is. Shoko tells him that Guda is an upperclassman, and there are a lot of bad rumors going around about him. She adds that Akikawa and his friends have been hanging out with him a lot, and Guda is a Ryoku executive. She heard some people from the Ryoku group talking about him. Shoko says there hasn't been any specific incident yet, but she's worried that it'll be too late if she waits until something happens. Tiaga asks her what she wants to do. Shoko replies that she wants Akikawa to cut ties with Guda and his group. Tiaga understands and assures her that he'll do what he can. Shoko asks if he's okay with that. Tiaga replies that the state of public order in the school impacts the sanitary conditions, so he has a vested interest. Both girls thank him for his help, and Shoko asks what he's going to do. Tiaga tells her he has an idea. He then disguises himself as a woman, changing his outfit and appearance. Both girls are surprised to see him transformed. Shoko tells him that he's putting so much effort into it. Tiaga explains that in his previous job, there were times when cross-dressing was necessary. Tiaga then plans to meet Tanabe, but Shoko stops him and says she wants to go too. She wants to see everything with her own eyes. Tiaga warns her that it might be dangerous, but he respects her resolve. That weekend, they both go to the Ryoku group party. There are a bunch of beauties having fun. Tiaga and Shoko survey the surroundings, but suddenly, a guy grabs Tiaga and tells him to come with him. They are then split up by some other guys. Suddenly, someone screams that a guy came in dressed as a girl. One guy near them, who was dressed like a girl, was caught and kicked out by the thugs. His friend apologized to the thugs, admitting that he was responsible for the situation. He then told the thugs that if he was going to hit on a girl, he should at least listen to her voice. One of the thugs tried to punch the guy, but suddenly Guda appeared and stopped him, saying it was all right and that everyone has different tastes. Guda then gave a devilish smile and said that the guy brought that one with him because he liked what he saw. He then grabbed his friend and told him to get it on right there where he could see him. Akikawa and his friends were also there and saw the situation. They were a bit scared because they were also planning to grab a girl who looked like Shoko. Tanabe mentioned that he had seduced two beautiful ladies to come, and it was Tiaga and Shoko, though they didn't know them. Akikawa never thought Tanabe would succeed at winning girls over. Kashima asked where those two girls had gone. Even though Tanabe claimed he had won them over, Kashima hadn't even seen him talking to them. Even Tanabe didn't know where they were. Kashima asked him how he approached them. Tanabe replied that the girls said they were interested in the Ryoku group's party. Akikawa commented that if that was the case, Tanabe shouldn't claim he won them over. Tanabe said they were probably put off by what was happening over there. On the other side, Tiaga and Shoko were watching the guys causing trouble. Suddenly, one guy told them to ignore it and offered Shoko a beer, but she declined, stating that she was underage. The guy told her that in a place like that, it doesn't matter what her age is. Shoko asked for a soft drink instead. He then grabbed an orange juice for them and gave them two. They sat on a sofa and drank the juice, with Shoko thanking him. Suddenly, someone loudly apologized, and Shoko stood up to see what was happening. It was the same guy from earlier who had dressed as a woman. She saw that a bunch of thugs had surrounded him and were bullying him. Shoko thought they would probably stop if she asked them to. But suddenly, her vision became blurry. She didn't know what was happening, and both she and Tiaga became unconscious. When Shoko's eyes opened, she found herself in a dark and cold cage. Her hands were handcuffed, and she realized she had been drugged. She looked around but couldn't find Tiaga in the cage. She became upset and blamed Akikawa for what had happened. She thought that if she had stayed away from him, something like this would never have happened to her. Suddenly, a guy opened the cage and called her number 3, telling her to leave the cage. She noticed a sticker with the number 3 on her clothes. Some men then brought her to the main area, where a bunch of other girls were also present. She wondered what was going to happen to her. There were a bunch of girls on a stage, and the stage was surrounded by people watching them. Shoko then turned her head toward a higher level seat and saw Guda with some girls. Guda asked his guy if there was one more girl missing, saying he was sure there was another well-built woman. His guy replied that the person they sent to get her hadn't come back yet. Guda said that the woman he liked best was that one, and she looked like the tastiest of the women. If she were there, she'd get special treatment. Upon hearing that, Shoko thought she had to find a chance to escape. Guda then pressed a button, and suddenly a cage surrounded all the girls. Shoko thought there was no way to get out. Gouda smiled and told them they were going to do something special. Try to kill each other until there was only one left. He had no interest in weak women. Making a strong woman submit to him was what he called a real thrill. The loser would be disposed of, and whoever remained standing would have the privilege of becoming his woman. He then licked his tongue and told them to do everything they could to excite him. He threatened one of his men, ordering him to bring the other woman to him before the fight was over, or he would kill him. The man ran off to find Tiaga. Suddenly, the girl's shackles were opened, and Gouda announced the start of the fight. Meanwhile, Akikawa and his friends noticed that the crowd had suddenly thinned out. Kashima suggested they leave. Tanabe mentioned that he thought the two girls he supposedly won over had gone too, and he hadn't even managed to talk to them. Akikawa suddenly saw something on the ground. He picked it up, and it was a student ID from their school. Seeing the ID, Akikawa was shocked because it belonged to Shoko-chan. Gouda addressed the girls, telling them to fight among themselves for the privilege of his embrace. The first contestant, number 1, was introduced as a wrestling athlete, exuding more confidence than the others. Another girl, a delinquent, boldly declared that she would be the one to sleep with Alex. Number 3 was Shoko, a track and field athlete. Number 4 was a female fan who imitated the makeup and fashion style of a visual K brand. Number 5 introduced herself as a karate practitioner, and number 6 was a volleyball player. Number 1, feeling confident, announced that she didn't mind taking them all on at once, but if given the choice, she wanted to go up against the strongest. She then called out number 5 and asked her about her competitive sport. Number 5 replied that karate wasn't a competitive sport, it was a martial art. Number 1 then declared she would face number 5 first. She charged at her like an animal, but number 5 dodged her easily. Though number 1's strength and speed were on another level, her direct charge was predictable. When number 1 came close again, number 5 tried to punch her, but number 1 dodged and grabbed her hand, swiftly catching her neck with the other hand. Number 1 taunted her, saying that her reputation was huge, with so many trophies to her name. She explained that organized wrestling had too many safety measures and an endless list of fouls, which made her bored. That's why she threw herself into the world of illegal street brawling, where she could use the wrestling skills she had learned and bring her enemies down with banned finishing moves. Number 5 had no chance against her. Number 1 easily secured an arm lock, leaving number 5 seemingly unconscious. Shoko suddenly ran toward them and managed to break number 1's grip, causing her to retreat in shock. Everyone was surprised by what had just happened. Number 1 thought that Shoko was about to break her fingers. She realized that there were ways to break an arm lock, and one of the simplest, even for a weakling, was to destroy the fingers of the hand securing the arm. Number 1 started to rethink her assessment of Shoko, realizing she wasn't just a small fry. Number 4 laughed loudly, mocking number 1, saying that despite her beefy appearance, she still jumped out of there like a spooked little chicken. The delinquent girl interrupted, telling number 4 to stop laughing and insisting that it wasn't about who was strong. The delinquent girl didn't care about winning or losing in that place. Number 4 agreed to let her win, then called Gouda a gorilla. Suddenly, she smiled and asked who she was calling a gorilla. Number 2, the delinquent girl, looked angry at the insult. She noticed a group of guys cheering her on, saying that if she lost, they were going to dispose of her. Number 4 repeated the gorilla insult, saying she didn't want to die. To shut her up, the delinquent girl charged at her, attempting to punch her. But number 4 dodged the attack and countered with a punch to number 2's head, knocking her out with a single blow. She then told the unconscious girl that she did not want to get hurt. Shoko was shocked by how strong number 4 actually was. She had even tried to help stop number 1 earlier. Number 4 then turned her attention to number 1, calling her a chubby chicken. She complained that it was late and that she wanted to hurry up and finish the fight. She then charged at number 1 with lightning speed, so fast that number 1 didn't even realize she was approaching. Number 4 punched from below, aiming for number 1's head, but number 1 blocked the punch with her hand. Number 1 thought to herself that number 4's punches were fast but light, like those of a boxer. Number 4 hit her countless times, but number 1 knew she just had to protect her jaw. After the barrage of punches, number 1 lowered her guard and tried to grab number 4. However, taking advantage of the opening, Number 4 landed a heavy punch to Number 1's stomach, causing her to bend over in pain. Number 1 wondered how Number 4 could suddenly throw such a powerful punch. Number 4 explained that there was no such thing as a safe punch to take. Shoko was surprised that Number 4 had won but was relieved that the most savage opponents were down, thinking the rest could be reasoned with. Shoko smiled at Number 4 and suggested they discuss what to do next, but she was shocked to see that Number 4 had already beaten up the remaining opponents, leaving only Shoko left standing. Shoko asked what she was doing. Number 4 replied that if she didn't win, she couldn't get out. She urged Shoko to fight back, giving her no other option but to engage in the fight. Meanwhile, Akikawa and his friends tried to make their way to the fighting area, but a group of Guda's men blocked their path. Akikawa pleaded with them, saying that Shoko was a model student, not a fighter, but they didn't listen. One of the men, who called himself Guda's right hand, refused to understand, so Kashima punched him in the head, knocking him unconscious. Kashima then apologized to his friends, explaining that before joining Ryoku, he was Akikawa's buddy. He warned Guda's men that if they didn't get out of the way, he was going to send them all flying. In the next scene, Shoko doesn't want to fight Number 4. Shoko says to her, "Let's just calm down and think of a way to get out of here." Number 4 tells her that it's impossible, that they can't break the cage. Shoko suggests there might be another way, explaining that she's never been in a fight before. But Number 4 replies that they don't have any other choice. All they can do is fight. She then moves toward Shoko and tries to punch her, but Shoko suddenly steps back and dodges the punch, leaving Number 4 shocked. Number 4 realizes that Shoko understood the exact reach of her hand, something a newbie wouldn't be able to dodge so easily. However, Shoko reassures her that she's never been in a fight, though she was taught how to protect herself. In a flashback, we see Taiga giving Shoko some training lessons before they infiltrated the area. He taught her that no matter what weapon the enemy has, there will always be a limit to how far their attack can reach, whether it's a punch the length of their arm, a kick the length of their leg, or with a weapon the length of their arm plus the weapon's handle. That's the upper limit. Taiga told her that as long as she stays outside that limit, she's not in danger. With her exceptional reflexes and visual acuity, he assured her she would quickly become accustomed to it. Shoko then jokingly asked what would happen if the opponent had a gun. Taiga replied that, in that case, giving up was an option. Back in the fighting area, Number 4 tries to hit Shoko again, but Shoko dodges the attack once more, making Number 4 increasingly angry. She attempts to punch Shoko countless times, but Shoko evades all the attacks. Shoko steps back, but soon realizes she's reached the grill of the cage. She's at the end, with no way to retreat. This presents an opportunity for Number 4. She smugly says that no matter how good Shoko is at running away, once she's cornered, it's over. Number 4 then closes in to deliver a hit, but Shoko, no longer in defense mode, has no other choice. She crosses her arms, covers her head with her hands, and charges toward Number 4. Shoko grabs Number 4's legs, recalling something Taiga had said. When an opponent drives you to a point where you can't take a single step back, there's only one way forward. Punches and kicks have the most power at the end of their reach, so slamming into them is effective, especially if there's no significant difference in body mass. Taiga had shown her how to do this with a dummy skeleton. Shoko just needed to stop their attack, grab onto them, get a good grip behind their knees, and flip them over. Shoko applies this technique in the ring, flipping Number 4. She raises her hand as if to punch her, but suddenly stops, realizing she doesn't remember what to do after knocking an opponent down. Number 4 lowers her guard, thinking Shoko is weak. Number 4, who had practiced organized boxing on the streets with no rules, was surprised when Shoko didn't take advantage of her situation. In a street fight, if someone lightweight like Shoko gets mounted, they usually get beaten. That's why Number 4 trained her footwork and increased her speed. In the fight, she put her hand in front of her to handle the impact, but was surprised that she didn't get hurt at all. She then opened her eyes and saw that Shoko had backed away and assumed a fighting position. Shoko had remembered Taiga's advice that a counterattack wasn't necessary after knocking someone down. Running away before the enemy could get back up was often the best option. Number 4 stands up, thinking she has another opportunity. Meanwhile, Gouda is enjoying the fight until one of his men suddenly screams that it's Kashima and his buddies. Shoko turns around to see what's going on. Akikawa and his friends have beaten up all the guys who got in their way. Akikawa sees Shoko inside the ring and tells her that he will get her out of there as soon as possible. Gouda, seeing what Akikawa and his friends have done, becomes furious. Akikawa pretends not to notice Gouda's reaction, as after so long, he feels he has no right to complain. But he can't just stand idly by and watch Shoko get hurt. Gouda asks his men why they are interfering, saying this is Akikawa's matter. Kashima responds that Akikawa is his buddy, which is why they're involved. Although Tanabe is slightly afraid of Gouda, he stands with them because, after all, they are good friends. Gouda then smiles and calls them chivalrous. The three of them approach Gouda and ask if he's the one who told them to crush anyone who pisses them off. Akikawa then tells him that the person who pisses them off more than anyone else is Gouda himself. Upon hearing that, Gouda stood up from his chair, approached them and stretched out his arms, asking them who among them had grown stronger than him. He first punched Kashima in the stomach and then threw a jab at Tanabe's head. Gouda attempted to punch Tanabe again, but Akikawa came from behind and kicked Gouda in the back. However, the kick had no effect on Gouda, leaving Akikawa shocked. Instead, Gouda retaliated by kicking Akikawa in the stomach, causing him to fall near the fence of the fighting ring. Shoko asked him if he was okay, and Akikawa assured her that he was fine. Shoko then questioned why he would come to save her, considering that Gouda was also his buddy. Akikawa looked up and replied that he didn't come to save her. He then took out her ID card and handed it to her, saying he came to return something she dropped. Akikawa admitted that he didn't think he could win because he was up against a monster. Meanwhile, Taiga discovered Ryoko's secret facility. He neutralized one of the guards, planning to let them capture him so he could infiltrate their base. In order to free Akikawa and the others, it was necessary to dismantle the entire organization, and for that, he needed evidence of their criminal activities. Taiga took pictures of the plants Ryoko was trafficking illegally into the country, which explained the tight security. Despite this, Taiga successfully knocked out the guards. After taking enough photos, he put his phone in his pocket and prepared to leave, knowing he also needed to protect Shoko. Suddenly, a guard appeared and screamed that there was a woman in the base. The guard was shocked that Taiga had breached all the tight security. Taiga threatened the guard, telling him to leave or face the same fate as the others who had been knocked out. The guard fell to the ground in intense fear, but then another man appeared, eating a piece of broccoli. He introduced himself as Miguel Greenwood, the bodyguard of the Ryoko group. The first guard warned Taiga that there was no way he could win against Miguel, who was incredible, having once been in the mafia. The guard revealed that Miguel had been sentenced to years of hard labor, but he escaped and ended up in that country. Annoyed by the guard revealing his history, Miguel stuffed the broccoli into his mouth and told him to stop talking about his past. He then revealed a gun in his hand, explaining to Taiga why he was once called the Mafia. Back at the fight, Kashima punched Gouda in the face, but it had no effect, as if Gouda were made of stone. Gouda grabbed Kashima's shoulders and smashed his head against Kashima's, causing a critical impact. Kashima thought to himself that Gouda's body felt like it was made of metal or something similar. Akikawa, attacking from behind, punched Gouda in the back, but Gouda didn't even flinch. Akikawa then attempted to kick Gouda's leg, but instead, his own leg got hurt with no impact on Gouda's leg. Gouda told him that strong guys always aim for his legs, thinking they are his weak point. He admitted that he doesn't know much about body structure and never learned any martial arts. His strength was purely from inborn physical power. He felt there was no need to learn from weaker individuals since no martial artist could beat him. Akikawa, reflecting on his own situation, thought about how he was a skilled player, yet his team had abandoned him. Gouda suddenly grabbed Akikawa's jacket and punched him in the head, causing him to fall to the ground. Concerned for Akikawa, Shoko screamed. Number 4 told her that the impact was loud, but assured her not to worry about him. He would be fine. She advised Shoko to just wait and see how the fight unfolds, noting that if those 3 lost, neither of them would be safe either. Suddenly, Kashima stood up from the ground, holding a steel rod in his hand. He admitted that he didn't want to rely on something like that, but if punches were useless against someone as tough as Gouda, it was a different story with a weapon. Kashima looked 100 times stronger wielding the rod, revealing an unexpected truth. Kashima Takuya was an experienced martial artist. Although his friends didn't know about his hidden skills, he understood his own body better than anyone. There was no way a lightweight like him could beat a big guy like Gouda, but with the principles of kendo, he was confident he wouldn't lose. Kashima Takuya was the son of a top-ranking practitioner of a renowned dojo. There was a time when, out of admiration for his father, he devoted himself to kendo. However, due to a certain incident, the dojo's reputation was tarnished, leading Kashima to abandon the sword and choose the path of a delinquent. Now, Kashima declared that the real fight was about to start. Seeing his confidence, Gouda smiled, thinking that he would crush Kashima with a single hand. In a flashback, we see Kashima's training. The foundation of kendo was to determine the distance, take one step forward and strike, take one step back and dodge. The goal was to obtain the ability to grasp the interval in an instant. In the present fight, Kashima wasted no time and ran toward Gouda with a steel rod. His father had taught him that since his opponent was in constant motion, he should maintain a view of the entire body rather than focusing on any one part. By doing so, he wouldn't miss a single opening. Kashima, with his vast experience, was looking for the perfect point to strike. As he got closer to Gouda, the latter thought he could take the blow with his body, grab the weapon, and take control. But Gouda couldn't even see Kashima, who passed by his side and struck him in the stomach. The hit was critical enough that even Gouda felt the pain. The speed of a kendo strike from the ready stance to the blow was a mere 0.2 seconds. For a master, that speed became almost instantaneous. Seeing Gouda hurt, Akikawa smiled and cheered for Kashima. Kashima thought that normally, one blow should be enough to knock someone out, but Gouda was still standing. Kendo was born from kenjutsu, and the techniques were originally meant to kill. It was incorrect to assume that kendo was safe as long as protective gear was worn. In reality, there were accidents in which even a wooden sword caused fatal internal damage during matches. It was a brutal martial art. Shoko also began to believe that Kashima might actually win. Kashima then ran toward Gouda again, holding the rod horizontally. He was so fast that Gouda couldn't catch him. Kashima used the Kendo Kiai technique and struck Gouda on the head. The impact caused Gouda's head to bleed, and he fell to the ground. Akikawa was surprised that Kashima had managed to knock him out. Meanwhile, in the secret facility, Miguel fired a gun at Taiga, but Taiga dodged the bullet and hid behind some plants. The earlier guard was shocked that Taiga had the ability to dodge a bullet. Taiga had a simple principle. If he wasn't in line with the trajectory, the bullet couldn't hit him. Miguel thought Taiga was dodging the gunfire by pure luck, but the fact that he didn't freeze up in front of a gun suggested that he wasn't just a normal person, he was a professional killer. Suddenly, Taiga disappeared from Miguel's sight and reappeared behind him, striking the hand that held the gun. The impact caused Miguel to lose his grip, and the gun fell to the ground. Miguel was shocked that Taiga had dashed in and disarmed him so quickly. Miguel then acted as if he was surrendering, but suddenly revealed another gun in his other hand. He believed that, at such close range, Taiga couldn't dodge the shot. However, he quickly realized that the gun had disappeared from his hand and was now in Taiga's possession. Taiga had taken the gun without Miguel even noticing. Taiga then grabbed Miguel's hand, pressed the gun to his head, and slammed his head to the ground. He fired a bullet near Miguel's head as a warning before throwing the gun away. Finally, Miguel surrendered. As Miguel lay there, he recalled that Taiga's face looked familiar. He had seen it before. Taiga was the professional killer who had annihilated their organization. But before Miguel could say more, Taiga neutralized him. Taiga was now running late because of Miguel, so he sprinted toward the fighting ring. When he arrived, he saw Shoko screaming, while Akikawa and Kashima were knocked out, and Gouda was seething with anger. Later that night, somewhere outside the warehouse, a biker removed his helmet and checked the location on his phone. The biker was Cheyenne, a classmate of Shoko's. Earlier, after Kashima knocked out Gouda, Akikawa was overjoyed and grabbed him in celebration. But he suddenly remembered that Shoko was still trapped in a cage, so he ran toward it. As he approached, he assured Shoko that he would get her out, causing her to blush slightly. Meanwhile, Tanabe found the key to the cage and rushed over to help Akikawa. Together, they attempted to unlock the cage. Suddenly, Number 4 noticed something and shouted for them to look behind. When they turned around, they saw Gouda standing there. He grabbed Akikawa's head and slammed it against the fence with a brutal impact. Blood poured from Akikawa's head as Shoko screamed in fear and concern. Kashima, seeing this, lifted the steel rod again. Gouda, seeing Kashima's determined expression, stepped back, creating some distance between them. Gouda had a wild, animalistic look in his eyes, as if he were no longer human. He was like a wild beast, filled with anger. He grabbed an iron bar from behind the cage, bent it with his bare hands, and removed it. Kashima, shocked by Gouda's inhuman strength, realized he had never encountered anything like this before. Akikawa, badly injured, thought that Gouda was a monster. The length of the iron bar Gouda wielded made it nearly impossible for Kashima to get within striking range. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. Gouda hurled the iron bar at Kashima with full force. Luckily, Kashima narrowly avoided it. He then struck Gouda's leg with the steel rod, but the rod bent upon impact, and Gouda didn't even flinch. Gouda then grabbed Kashima's head and smashed his face with his knee, delivering a critically damaging blow. Kashima lost consciousness, but Gouda didn't stop there. He grabbed Kashima by the hair and repeatedly slammed his knee into his face. On the other side, Akikawa, severely injured and losing a lot of blood, feared that Gouda might kill Kashima. We then learn more about Gouda's past. He blamed his father for what he had become. Gouda's father was a Japanese executive in an overseas mafia. He constantly beat both Gouda and his mother, punishing them for the slightest reasons, like not getting a perfect score on a test or watching TV. His father's beatings were relentless. Over time, Gouda's body became stronger from the daily abuse. When Gouda was in middle school, during one of these beatings, he misjudged his own strength and accidentally killed his father. He passed out afterward, and some people took him to the police station. Despite the extenuating circumstances, Gouda spent the rest of his middle school years in a juvenile detention center. This experience taught him a harsh lesson. If he wanted to survive, he had to use violence to dominate others and stand at the top. Back in the present, Gouda tightly grabbed Kashima's neck, but suddenly someone told him to stop. It was Taiga. Upon seeing Taiga, Gouda smiled and released Kashima. Gouda then walked toward Taiga, thinking he could crush him in one move. He lunged at Taiga, but seeing Taiga's fighting stance made him hesitate. Gouda stepped back, realizing that Taiga was strong. Gouda then dropped to the ground, positioning himself like a gorilla, and charged at Taiga like a wild animal. Taiga dodged the attack, causing Gouda to collide with the wall. Taiga observed that Gouda fought like a wild beast and had no experience dealing with such opponents. It would be dangerous if Gouda managed to catch him. Gouda came at Taiga again, trying to land a punch, but Taiga skillfully avoided all of his attacks. Since becoming a professional killer, Taiga had fought and defeated all sorts of people, Yakuza, bodyguards, soldiers. His body still remembered the accumulated experience from those battles. Taiga was confident that he could formulate a response to any opponent at first sight, but Gouda's movements were entirely unpredictable. Gouda then ripped another iron bar from the fence and hurled it at Taiga, but he dodged it. Gouda climbed the fence and jumped at Taiga, but Taiga moved back just in time to avoid the attack. Gouda's movements were difficult even for Taiga to predict. Meanwhile, Tanabe managed to unlock the cage and urged Shoko and number 4 to run. But as they approached Tanabe, they noticed Gouda already on the upper level. They looked up, and Gouda smiled before jumping down toward them. But just in time, Taiga arrived and pushed Shoko and number 4 out of the way, ensuring their safety. However, Taiga couldn't save himself in time, and Gouda landed on him, creating a cloud of dust around them. As the dust cleared, they saw Gouda gripping Taiga's neck, smiling devilishly at Shoko. Gouda grabbed Taiga's neck and taunted him, saying his opponents only take 10 seconds to die. He began counting down, and when he reached 0, he looked down and smiled, thinking he had won. But suddenly, Taiga tightly grabbed his hand and blocked it with his legs. Gouda was surprised. How was Taiga still alive? Taiga had completely blocked his arm. Gouda thought there was no way Taiga should still be breathing. When Gouda landed on him, Taiga noticed he was going for his neck, so he took a deep breath. Taiga had extreme lung capacity because once, during a mission, his master tossed him into the water without any equipment, and he had to conceal himself for 20 minutes. But suddenly, Gouda made a move, raised his other hand, and threw a punch at Taiga. Taiga noticed it and loosened his grip, surprised that Gouda could still put so much power into his attack while being trapped. Gouda's punch was so strong that it cracked the ring's ground. Gouda then charged at Taiga like a beast and threw another punch. Taiga blocked the punch with his hands, but the force was so strong that Taiga was thrown backward and fell. Taiga thought that Gouda's strength was unreal. It was like fighting a wild animal. Just as Taiga stood up, Gouda jumped at him again. But this time, Taiga clapped his hands in front of Gouda's eyes, causing Gouda to lose sight of him. In the next moment, Taiga was behind Gouda. He grabbed Gouda's head with his hands and tried to neutralize him. Despite the pressure that could kill someone, Gouda still had enough leeway to talk. In his animal-like state, his senses seemed to have sharpened considerably. When facing an animal, making a loud noise to startle them often works well. We then flash back to 10 years earlier, where Taiga was standing in front of his master in the wild. It had been a while since his master had taught him how to kill. Taiga had a knife, and suddenly, a snake appeared behind his master. Taiga threw the knife, hitting the snake's head and killing it. His master told him that killing animals smaller than him was easy. Suddenly, a bear appeared behind Taiga, and his master instructed him on how to kill a bear. The method was simple. If you grab onto its neck and stay on its back, its thick arms can no longer reach you, and then a rear choke would cut off the flow of blood to the brain, causing the bear to pass out. But back in the present, Gouda flipped himself, causing Taiga to lose his grip on Gouda's head, allowing him to escape. The muscles in Gouda's neck were so solid that Taiga couldn't complete the technique. When Taiga killed the bear, he used a Kevlar cord, but even with that, he wasn't able to bring down Gouda. Gouda then screamed that he had no weak points. On the other side, Akikawa called out to Taiga, telling him that Gouda was not someone he could beat in a head-on fight. Akikawa urged him to take Shoko and get out of there. But Taiga wasn't done yet. He ran toward Gouda, thinking that no matter how strong someone's muscles were, the human body always had an unstable point. Taiga got close to Gouda and kicked his leg with full power. Akikawa warned him that low kicks don't work on Gouda. Gouda, mocking everyone, said they always aimed for his legs but didn't know what they were doing. Although Akikawa's kick and Kishima's sword were good, Taiga's kick caused a malfunction in Gouda's leg, forcing him to bend his knee again. Gouda was confused about why his attack had caused him to kneel. Akikawa and the others were also surprised, realizing that no matter how much they attacked, nothing seemed to work. Gouda thought it must be a stroke of luck. There was no way his leg could break by mere coincidence. Taiga then flipped back and asked Akikawa and his friends what they could do to break a steel wall. Akikawa replied that it was impossible to break something like that just by hitting it. Taiga raised his fist and answered that if they hit it repeatedly, no matter the type of metal, it would eventually break. The reason Taiga broke Gouda's leg with one hit was because the damage from Akikawa's attacks had already weakened it. Taiga explained that it wasn't easy for Akikawa because, when he hit Gouda's leg, it didn't seem to hurt Gouda at all. He said it was impossible for one person to hit a steel wall repeatedly. When Taiga hit Gouda's body, it didn't seem to hurt him. Suddenly, Ryoku Company's men arrived to help Gouda. They asked if he was okay, and Gouda ordered them to catch Taiga and the others. The Ryoku thugs surrounded them from all sides. Taiga realized that after battling a tough opponent, facing so many thugs would be difficult. He could cover the students while they escaped, but he couldn't guarantee his own survival. Shoko prepared for a fight. Just then, something hit one of the thugs. It was a bike. The biker jumped off his bike, hitting Taiga's head and then flipping the bike. The biker raised his finger and signaled towards an exit, indicating they should run. Shoko asked about the other girls, and Tanabe replied that he would get them out while Gouda was incapacitated. Taiga and the others started to run, while the biker turned his bike and took down some thugs. After some time, they successfully made it outside and looked exhausted. Taiga ensured everyone was safe, looked toward the biker, thanked him, and asked who he was. The biker removed his helmet to reveal himself as Kisaragi Cheyenne, Shoko's classmate. Cheyenne then pointed toward the number 4 fighter. Number 4 revealed that she was his little sister, Kisaragi Misa. Cheyenne tried to communicate something in sign language, but Taiga and the others couldn't understand. However, Misa understood and explained that Cheyenne had already called the cops, so they could go home without worrying. She then put her helmet back on, said goodbye, and left with Cheyenne on the bike. Shoko wondered what Kisaragi's sister was doing in a place like that, but Akikawa smiled and told her not to stress because everyone had gotten out safely. On the bike, Misa told Cheyenne that the person he had asked her to look into didn't seem to be there. Cheyenne replied that there was no need to infiltrate such a dangerous place. Misa suddenly asked why she had eaten food at the enemy's base. Misa replied that it looked tasty, so she ate it. Cheyenne told her she needed to take better care of herself. Meanwhile, at the Ryoku group base, Miguel was spreading alcohol on the plants they had smuggled into the country. Miguel thought the plants were no good anymore and that it was the end of that branch. Gouda had been useful for making the organization bigger, but now he had failed and been defeated. Miguel then lit a match and threw it on the alcohol. The plants caught fire, and Miguel left the place. Back at the site, Gouda was on the ground, surrounded by flames. As he opened his eyes, he saw the fire closing in. He tried to stand up but couldn't because his leg was broken. He thought no one was going to lend him a hand. He looked up and thought about Taiga, who had appeared as a woman, though Gouda didn't know. He thought he had fallen in love with her, which he saw as his karma. Suddenly, a pile of burning furniture fell on Gouda, and Gouda, known as Alex, perished. A few days after the Ryoku group incident, during the school lunch break, Kashima entered the classroom with some bandages on his face. He had skipped morning classes, so Akikawa and Tanabe asked him about it. Kashima pulled out a burger, took a bite, and casually replied that some Ryoku group thugs had harassed him, but he had beaten them all up. Akikawa apologized, feeling guilty because they had ended up leaving the group all because of his selfishness. But Tanabe and Kashima just smiled, saying that who cares about Ryoku? The three of them are good friends. Akikawa became emotional and thanked them. Kashima, however, couldn't stop thinking about the beautiful lady Tanabe had brought to the Ryoku group fight. He thought she was cool and pretty, not realizing that she was actually Taiga, dressed as a woman. Akikawa teased Kashima, saying he must have fallen in love at first sight. Kashima asked what Akikawa thought about older women, making Akikawa blush. Tanabe then asked where they should hang out after school, suggesting karaoke. Akikawa declined, blushing as he mentioned that he already had plans. The two of them were surprised and curious about what kind of plans Akikawa had. Akikawa glanced over at Shoko, who was chatting with her friends. Suddenly, Shoko turned back and noticed Akikawa looking at her, and she also blushed. Tanabe couldn't believe that Akikawa had a girlfriend before him. But Akikawa explained that they were just walking home together after school. After school, Akikawa and Shoko walked down the road together. Akikawa asked about her leg, making sure it was okay. Shoko assured him that it was fine. She had just twisted it a little when they ran away from the Ryoku group. She also asked about his health, knowing he had been badly beaten up. Akikawa replied that he was okay. On their way home, they passed by a game zone, and Shoko asked if they could hang out there for a while. Akikawa smiled and agreed. He tried to win a teddy bear for Shoko but failed. They also went to a photo booth and took pictures together. After that, they ate ice cream, and Shoko offered her ice cream to Akikawa, making him blush. They then went to a mall where Shoko suggested they buy something. She showed Akikawa a football and suggested he buy it because it was cheap. In the afternoon, they went to a park, and Akikawa showed off his football skills to Shoko, who thought he was really good. She mentioned that it had been a long time since the two of them hung out like this, noting that they hadn't really talked much since he quit soccer. Shoko suddenly asked him why he quit soccer. Nearby, a group of kids was also playing soccer in the park. Akikawa sat down next to Shoko and told her that he hated to sound like he was making excuses. Shoko reassured him that even if it sounded like an excuse, she wanted to know because he had loved soccer so much back then. Akikawa then shared his story, explaining that the advisor, Ikahara, apparently thought he would be popular with girls just because he was the soccer advisor. He lied about being experienced just to get the position and only bothered to look things up online, using outdated information. He pushed bad practice methods on the team, which left the club members in rough shape. He also verbally abused anyone who didn't perform well, creating a toxic environment. Shoko was surprised, not knowing that Ikahara was that type of person. She had no idea. Akikawa continued, saying that Ikahara did a good job of keeping up appearances, but Akikawa couldn't put up with that kind of club. So he practiced on his own, but without realizing it, he pissed off the whole team. From the perspective of those who endured the cruel practices, It looked like Akikawa was just running away. Hearing this, Shoko felt sad, realizing she had said some awful things to Akikawa. But Akikawa insisted that he was the one who should apologize. If he hadn't been hanging out with those people, he wouldn't have gotten caught up in it. Shoko apologized too, saying that when he quit soccer, she should have listened to his side of things. Suddenly, they started arguing about who was responsible, coming closer to each other and blushing. Akikawa admitted that he should have listened to her and stopped hanging out with those delinquents. He apologized for putting her in danger. As he moved closer to Shoko, trying to say something to her, a football suddenly hit his head. It was the kids playing soccer in the park. Seeing their actions, Akikawa got angry, grabbed the ball, and threw it back to them. The kids thanked him for passing the ball, making Shoko laugh and say he looked like a kid. In the end, they were both just happy that they were safe. As they were leaving, Shoko asked about the woman who had come with Tanabe to the Ryoka group party. Akikawa replied that she was just a friend who had introduced them. Meanwhile, at the school, we see Ami working at her desk when Ikuhara approached her. He mentioned the incident where some of their students got caught up in the farmhouse that burned down. Then he got straight to the point, saying that at tomorrow's staff meeting, he was going to propose that all those students should be expelled.